All right, guys. Well, nearly two-thirds of college students say they would attend in-person college classes if campuses reopen in the fall, even if there is no coronavirus vaccine or cure. That's according to a new college reaction poll. And joining me now is Cyrus Beschloss, who is the CEO and founder of College Reaction. Cyrus, always a pleasure to have you on. And we got to know, did the poll results surprise you?
It's pretty stunning to me. First of all, you got not only a solid share of college students, 65%, like you mentioned, that are ready to come back to campus, whether or not there's a vaccine in the fall. But secondly, there's also a solid share of college students who are perfectly happy with distance learning. That's 31% of students said that they'd continue with distance learning even if their campus opened up in the fall. And that flies in the face of the fact that we've got huge disappointment and a lot of despondency about distance learning among college students. It's massively distracting, and most students have said that they've actually missed class since distance learning has been implemented.
So, talk to us about the role of the voice of college students in the decision making process. Are colleges listening to students when making decisions on reopening campuses? Does their lack of fear about returning without a vaccine make colleges and universities more likely to reopen if there's no vaccine?
There's definitely a dialogue. About 65% of schools at this point have said that they plan to reopen for in person classes in the fall. Obviously, that's fluid and that can change over time. And there's a solid share of colleges that said that they might try some sort of hybrid program where they might have larger lectures streamed via distance learning, and then they might have some of the smaller seminars in person. So I think that that's based on a lot of the feedback and hopefully a lot of the stats that are coming out about what college students favor. And I think that colleges obviously have students' experiences in mind, but then also the next step after college, it's the job market too.
To the extent that you can get as granular as this with some of the studies that you're performing, with some of the polling that you're doing right now in research, all rounded out, with regard to each different type of college student's experience and the different majors, are you seeing any variation there? Because I would think to myself that sure, there are some medical students where it totally makes sense that they would want to be in person at the university. That's where that learning is so essential and critical. Would colleges and universities deem certain majors essential for being in person versus other ones where it is non essential and then recommend that they stay home or continue in the distance learning efforts?
I think you're right on, Brad. I think that's exactly where we see that sort of hybrid learning model for some of the programs that might be a little harder to do, whether that's engineering, whether that's medical programs that actually require labs and a lot of in-person work. I think that that's where you can see this hybrid model work, where that's done in person in a really tactical, really safe way, and then you bring some of the other programs that might be able to be able to be done via distance learning, done via distance learning. Uh, we can definitely dig more into the crosstabs and look at how different majors are taking to uh, the prospect of a distance learning fall. But let's put it this way: I think the brightest minds in higher ed at this point are sketching out all the possible blueprints, and students, I think, are going to hopefully trust their campus to make the right choice when the time comes.
I got to go rapid fire with you. We only got a minute left here. This week,
Good
California
deal.
State University announced that all of its campuses would hold remote only classes in the fall. Do you think that this is the direction that most other colleges will go as well?
I think that we're definitely going to see colleges possibly start to drift in that direction once we get closer to it. It completely depends on the state of the virus around the time of the fall. What we're sure about at this point, and we're not sure about a whole lot, is that colleges are going to listen to the data, listen to the science, and they are going to err on the side of safety. So I could
Hmm.
definitely see colleges that might have planned to come back decide to go via distance learning come fall time.
Okay. You're doing good so far in this rapid fire. Let's also talk internships, vital to getting experience and job offers. Internships now in flux. What does that mean for students planning to rely on them to build up their own portfolio going into and their resume going into a full time career?
Yeah, we're right to focus on this. Students are launching at this point into a shriveling job market. That is a big problem. Lisa Kahn, who's done research on this from the University of Rochester over decades, has said that, for example, a class of 1980 that graduated in a recession, not only right after graduating, but even decades later, had stunted wages. So this is something that follows students, and this is where we've got to see a lot of work by the government and possibly by private companies who can actually take advantage of this wave of new workers who are skilled in anywhere from computer science to anthropology to journalism.
Mhm.
There's a lot of space to work with here, and we should watch that space.
Just lastly, while we have you, Cyrus, this has been a huge year because not only are we dealing with the coronavirus pandemic across college campuses and every industry and sector imaginable, but additionally, it's an election year here in the US. When we saw Super Tuesday, we saw the excitement of college students, some of them going to be first time voters in the election and the democratic process. How are they leaning from any information that you've been able to see, any polling and research that you've been able to do on their political leanings as a result of the coronavirus pandemic?
Yeah. So two things. Most recent polling has shown that college students, at least when he's in the race, massively favored Bernie Sanders. Probably not that big of a surprise. But what I think is going to be fascinating to watch is to see how that Bernie vote splits now that it's Joe Biden or Donald Trump and possibly a Dustin Amash. I think the big question in terms of registration and mobilization is what kind of opportunities are made available to college students to vote. Uh, is mail-in going to be completely accessible? There are tons of college students who might be registered in Michigan but might live in Maryland. Are those
Hmm.
students going to get a ballot? I think that that's the area that we have to watch.
That's a really good point, and how the coronavirus pandemic and the handling of such may have influenced their vote one way or the other. Cyrus Beschloss, who is the CEO and founder of College Reaction. Cyrus, always a pleasure to speak with you. Stay well, my